Hey folks, Seawit here, and today we're going to chat about what I consider one of the most underappreciated and misunderstood ways of getting a strategic edge in Perfect Team League stadiums. Firstly, let's talk about how to change stadiums and how to obtain them. In order to see the list of stadiums, as you can see on the page right here, you can get there from going to your team home screen, clicking Info, and then Ballpark. Um, Stadiums can only be changed on Sunday after the season ends until Monday at 10:30 Eastern Time when the first game of the season happens. So looking down this list, you can see that there is a required level. There are some stadiums you could get from mission rewards, but most other parks you get from getting to a certain level. When you get to the required level in League, you unlock that stadium, and even when you are demoted, that park will never go away. So if we are in, let's say, RFK Stadium, which is a stadium that you get from getting into Perfect League, if you get demoted to High Diamond, that park does not go away. In order to see the parks that you don't have, you can click this Only Show Eligible Parks checkbox. You can see that it also has some tournament-only parks as well as some mission parks that you might not have yet, but that shows every park that's currently in the game. So from there, the most important thing is changing this view to modifiers. You see this wall distances drop down in this default view. All of this is largely cosmetic and won't have any changes on the gameplay. The only so the modifiers that do matter, we have an average modifier for left-handed batters and right-handed batters. We have a home run modifier for left-handed batters and right-handed batters. And then we have a global doubles and triples modifier. So why are parks important? Think of it this way. If you're a team that on average would be, let's say, a 500 win percentage team in an average park, but you're able to put your team in a park against, just any team in the league, like an average team. Let's just think of an average makeup team in the league, and you're 500, you're 500 against that team. Putting your team in a home park that favors your team over your opponent's team will allow you to make your team better because that will increase your win percentage. Now, that might, seem obvious, but I know there are some people that potentially talk about that, if they work around a stadium, they will potentially be worse in other places. So the only way that would impact your road performance is if you actually build your team for your stadium, but in doing that makes it worse on average. That's kind of why I highly recommend choosing a park to fit your team as opposed to building a team around your park. So how do you choose the best park for your team? So the way that I usually do it is by looking at other teams in your league, seeing what they look like, and then thinking about what aspects of your team that they do better or worse than other teams in your league. So, for example, just as a hypothetical situation, let's just say you're in a metagame where most teams are playing, let's say, 7 meta lefty power hitters. You only have 3 of those guys. Well, that seems like a great opportunity to lower lefty powers since most other players are going to be hurt by lowering lefty power in your park more than you. Here's another example. Let's say you hit the lottery and you win both the PTCS and you open a rare and unique limited edition card. The rest of your team is kind of, pretty much the meta team, but those 2 cards are, unique compared to the other teams in your league. That's let's just say those 2 players are both high contact hitters with lower power. That sounds like a great opportunity to potentially lower power and do a contact park. here are a couple different scenarios as well. Do you think your team is weaker than others? Let's just say you got a little lucky in high diamond, sneaking into the playoffs, and then end up moving through the playoffs and get promoted. But you know that your team is a little underpowered. I would recommend bringing offense down, because with fewer runs scored in a game, it kind of makes the impact of variance take a little bit more over the raw power of your team. Because with fewer runs scored in the game, there will be more one-run games, and it's obviously a lot easier to get a coin flip one way or another in a 3-2 game as opposed to a 7-5 game. So you could also think about it the other way. If you're in low diamond and your team feels like you're going to be the most powerful team in the league, potentially turn offense up because you know that both your pitchers and hitters are better. You're going to have more opportunities to attack your opponents and take advantage of their weaker players. Of course, rarely will things be that easy. You're not always going to have a very obvious park to choose, whether that's, you kind of have a mix of players, or there's not, a perfect stadium to fit your park. We have a wide range of different parks. You could actually see some list here. If you click on this drop down, you could filter for what the game considers extreme and moderate parks in any direction. But again, it's just not always going to be obvious what park to do. And that is a skill that you have to practice to figure out how to best pick a park that fits your squad. There's also a lot more nuance that that impacts things just past your park and its home your park impacting your home performance. For example, and this is more of a theory than something we've seen actual evidence of, but makes sense due to the game's normalization context. But let's just say all 30 teams in your league chose Coors Field. My assumption is that it would actually play as neutral, because the league totals will still need to stay approximately the same. So really, your park does have some impact by the parks that other people are choosing. There's also, let's just say you set your team on Monday. We get to Thursday, it's TWIP day. Paul drops, 5 cards that are great cards, but potentially are on sort of the wrong side of the team of the stadium that you set up. Obviously, that's a bummer, and I know some people like to play neutral just in case. But I prefer to make my decisions based on the information that I have at the time. So I'd rather just build around the start of the week team, and then, if new cards drop and they make my home field advantage a little bit worse, that's fine. But again, I just want to control the things that I can. So hopefully this encourages you to check out the park selection page and change your park away from neutral. I really do think it's a really strong way to separate your team from others and gain some percentage points that you wouldn't have without changing your stadium, and could potentially be the difference between, winning the playoffs or getting to a higher level, or, even winning Perfect League. So thanks everyone for watching. Good luck choosing your parks in the future, and good luck in your perfect team season.